Hello there and welcome to my new sewing space. Yes, I have moved to a larger room and I finally have enough space to fit in all my sewing stuff and actually being able to move quite freely, have everything really nicely and neatly organized while still making sure it's an efficient workspace. So let's start the tour. So we're going to start off with my proudest piece of furniture. This is a cutting table, but it's not just a cutting table. It's also a storage system and it comes with wheels. Do you see? So you can easily move it around so you can access everything when you need it to. And the great thing about this system is the fact that it consists of IKEA shelves, the Kallax shelf system. There are 3 shelves that together create the solid base of this cutting board. And in there I store so much stuff. So I realized in order to be able to show you this properly, I need to be on the floor. So now I'm sitting in front of my cutting table made out of IKEA's Kallax shelves. And this is the front. Here I have drawers, inserts, and below here I have a couple of really nice boxes. These are for fabric scraps and stuff like that, because it's really nice to have a good place just to throw everything in until you need it. And we're gonna see if we can move this baby around so we can see the other side. Because as I said, this is not just a cutting board, it's also my largest storage unit. So here, all my sewing books, pattern magazines. In these binders I have all my Burda style magazines, and I also have some other pattern storage. Wow, these are 4 shelves. So this was the first one and this is the second shelf. And if that wasn't enough, shall we see, we can turn this big piece of furniture around. I mean, you gotta love the wheels, right? It's so nice to have. Whoops! I probably ran into something. Probably my neighbor, because I'm actually sharing this studio with another guy. And here, on the other side, I have more storage in terms of boxes, where I store pattern envelopes, cut pattern pieces, and also some ribbing fabric. So all in all, I have 12 shelves and a large cutting mat, wheels, and it's just an overall excellent furniture. And there is several different tutorials online that you can search and find. You can see how to make this. It's quite a popular IKEA hack. So I'm definitely not the one that came up with the idea initially, but it was definitely worth the work. It took me, I think, about a day to build everything together, and I've reassembled it many times because it's too big to fit into a door. So every time I'm moving my studio space, I also need to dismantle this one and put it together again, but it's not that difficult actually. So the also good thing is that this I used like solid wood as the cutting table top underneath the cutting mat, which also helps a lot because it's really sturdy work surface. So if you are struggling with finding a good way to cut your fabrics and also need more storage, maybe doing one of these is an option to explore. And speaking of IKEA, now I'm standing in front of another IKEA system that I find is really helpful for storing sewing stuff, namely the Skådis Pegboard. I know several of you probably already have this system yourself, and I'm sure you've seen featured in lots of other sewing room tours because it's such a great system if you need to store your sewing stuff. The good thing about the IKEA Skådis system, it comes with lots of different accessories, hooks, shelves, lots of different hangers and things like that that I find really useful. And if you want to go beyond what IKEA has to offer, there are also now companies selling dedicated sewing storage solution that fits with the Skådis holes here. For instance, if you want to put out a thread rack, you can buy one of these. I don't have it myself, but if you look around, you will find lots of different companies offering custom-made storage solutions that are just made for sewing. So I think that this is probably one of the best investments you can get to get a pegboard if you have the wall space. And I think one trick to really get your sewing organized is to utilize height and walls and not just boxes, because having everything like this so easily to access. I have this next to my cutting table, so every time I will need to cut something, I just need to like pick up my rotary cutter like this. It's so nice, and I also like, I think it looks really, really beautiful. And I like storage. I like having tools on display. I think it's a really nice way of showing that this is a workspace and not just a pretty space. And now I'm sitting at the area which you're probably the most curious about, namely my sewing table. So let's take a look at my sewing machine. Now, first of all, how many sewing machines do you have? I have 3. And I'm sure if you have more than one and you said that to someone who doesn't sew, they have a pretty hard time understanding why you need more than one sewing machine, because one machine, it sews. What's the problem? Why do you need more than one? Well, we all know that we probably need at least 2, and in some cases 3. And to be honest, you know, can you have too many sewing machines? Probably, especially because if you limit in things like your budget and your space. But to be honest, there are so many different great sewing machines, and they all have different uses, and they can also speed up your sewing process if you don't need to rethread everything. For instance, I know that some people actually have 2 sergers, so they don't have to switch up thread so often. That's probably a goal of mine. I'm not there yet, not there quite yet. But anyways, let's take a look at my 3 different sewing machines. I will talk a little bit about them. So let's start with my most expensive sewing machine. This is the BabyLock Imagine. It's a Serger. It was definitely one of the priciest Sergers out there when I bought it, so I was definitely hesitant about getting one. But it came with so much glowing reviews, so I decided to bite the bullet. I definitely have no regrets about that. The serger is an automatic tension serger, so that means you cannot manually change the tension, which comes with certain cons. But overall, it's a fantastic machine. And if you're curious about this machine and want to know more in detail my review about it, I've done a video about that as well. A link will that be in the description section as well, or just search for Last Stitch and BabyLock Imagine review. But fantastic machine, total workhorse. Fantastic, super happy that I actually did the splurge. But yeah, it was a sticker shock, I will be honest. But luckily not all my sewing machines are as expensive as the BabyLock. So this is my Bernina 1230. This is a vintage sewing machine. It was made in the late 80s to early 90s, I think. It's a digital machine, and it's such a fantastic workhorse. Now, I bought it secondhand about 15 years ago, and it has served me so well. And the reason why I bought it was because I was doing lots of buttons, and I wanted to have the automatic buttonhole function where the machine memorized the exact size of the buttonhole and then just replicate that over and over again, which is such a relief when you're sewing lots of buttonholes. So worthwhile investment. I didn't pay much for it, and I actually know now that the resale value is actually higher now, today, 15 years later, than it was when I first bought the machine. So talk about a great deal. This was a fantastic investment. This is actually my only sewing machine. To be honest, have never owned a new sewing machine because I find that I can get really good, all the machines for really good value. Not saying that I won't buy a new machine, you know, I would love to have one of those as well. But for now, I'm very happy to stick with my trusty Bernina. And last, but definitely not least, the cover stitch machine. This is the Janome 2000 CPX. It's a very popular cover stitch machine. Again, I reviewed this in a separate video. I'm definitely thinking about getting one of those top cover stitch machine now that has a 5th thread. In Janome's case, it's called Janome 3000 CPX, but I haven't got around to it yet. I should maybe, because I am a person who writes books about cover stitching. I've created a course about cover stitching, Cover Stitch Success, by the way, if you're curious. And also I've done lots of videos about cover stitching, but I have not yet owned a top cover machine. So that's definitely on my list for something to explore later on. We'll see how that goes. And by the way, I don't want to forget this. This has been such a game changer. This is a magnifying lamp. So you get nice, bright light, meaning that you get nice, bright light, and it also comes with a magnifying glass. And before I forget, also this is a magnifying lamp. You know, one of those that you find in dentist offices, for instance. This one is made for sewing. Lots of different options to get one, but definitely research that, because inside here it's this nice magnifying glass. And for someone like me who's getting older and struggling to see up close, say hi in the comment section if you can relate. being really detailed with your sewing has become a bit of a struggle, but this one provides great light and great sight. So wonderful product to have. And if you have any type of struggles with seeing those tiny stitches and want to really, be good at this detailed, precise sewing, then I definitely recommend you get one of these, a magnifying lamp. And now I am standing in front of my big storage tower. Again, I relied on trusty IKEA to fix things for me. I am Swedish after all. And in these drawers, I store pretty much all my sewing notions, tools, threads, needles, presser feet, all that good stuff are neatly organized in all these drawers. Are you curious to see how they look inside? Well, let's take a look. So for instance, in this drawer, I have my presser feet, my hand sewing needles, hump jumpers, and a lot of other little things that are good to have when you're sewing. And in the drawer above that, more stuff. Here I have more needles, my pattern weights, some glues, things that are really useful. I do like to glue stuff. I use basting glue, I use stick glue, I have safety pins, I have some sewing machine needles. These were also really good. Yeah, again, more stuff, right? And my most recent addition to this is that I just recently bought inserts for my thread spool. So now they're finally neatly organized, and these fit quite well. I got them on Amazon, and I know I've seen them in all different places. This is not a system that fits Kallax exactly, but I'd say it fits good enough, so I'm very happy. And here's probably my favorite drawers where I store all my pretty buttons. I am definitely a button junkie, and I love collecting cute buttons, especially vintage ones, the ones with lots of colors and decorations. So I actually have 2 drawers just for my buttons. I know it's insane, but it just makes me so happy. So as you can tell, this is just barely scraping the surface because I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I have 18 drawers. Ooh. Yes, that's how I roll. But the good thing is that you can see they're quite spacious, right? So it's very easy to access everything because I don't have a ton of stuff in each drawer. But yeah, 18 drawers. That's a lot. I should probably do a little bit of a spring cleaning, but I'll probably get around to it next year. We'll see. But yeah, wonderful, wonderful system to have. And now let's talk about some cute stuff that I just recently added to my sewing space. I hope that the camera does a good job of capturing these. These are fashion drawings from New York fashion houses that are accessible through the New York Public Library's digital high-resolution files. So you can actually just download them and print them out for free. So they are royalty-free with no restrictions when it comes to private use. So I went a little bit bananas and added 4 different posters just in this sewing space, and in my apartment I have a few more. So they're so cute. They are a couple of different fashion houses, and if you go on to the New York Public Library Digital Archive, you will be able to find these and lots of other photos as well that you're able to use. And when we're standing here, I also have these thread racks. Now, a lot of people will make a good case for not storing your sewing thread in the daylight because sun and dust can definitely harm the thread, but I will say that I do find this very helpful. This is in the shadow, and I'm hopefully not too dusty. It's probably too dusty. I mean, I'm just making excuses, but I really like to have one of these thread racks. This is again from Amazon. I will link to that product in the description section of this video. This one comes in plastic. There are also some really nice made with wood, which I haven't tried, but they look super nice. Probably a little bit nicer than plastic ones, but these are also really good. You can stack them on top of each other. Again, one of my tips when it comes to sewing storage is to utilize as much height as possible, because you know that floor space tends to always be a limitation, but we can usually move stuff more upwards, just as long as you have a ladder, because as you can tell, I am pretty short, so in order to get to all those boxes up there, I need to actually have a ladder, which I do have in this new sewing space. Before you get any ideas that everything is super cutely organized, I am here to tell you it's not. So I'm currently sitting underneath my standing desk where I do my computer work, and beneath that I have transparent plastic boxes where I store a lot of my fabrics, because I have not been able to find a space to store my fabric as of yet. Definitely something, a work in progress, but it works quite well, you know. You don't really reach your fabric all that often. The plastic boxes has wheels, so they're really easy to move out. I can also lower the standing desk without having to move the boxes. So for now, this actually works quite well. But yeah, ideally, in the future, it would have been nice to have some better organization for my fabrics. And here we have more shelving system, and behind me is my sample collection for samples that I've made when I release my patterns and I create my books. And above me I have a plant, because I do love lots of green stuff, and then more boxes that also store fabrics. So I'm definitely going to build out this system, so I don't have too much to show you yet, but it's definitely a work in progress. And we also have this really nice sofa and sofa table, so I'm finally able to actually lie down and relax here, because sewing and working, you know, it can be quite exhausting. So it's really nice to have a spot where you can actually rest and recoup. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, but I am sharing this studio space with a friend of mine. So he has 1/4 of the space and I have 3/4 of the space, and it works really, really well. We don't really are here as much at the same time, so it actually works super, super well. So thank you for taking this tour of my new sewing studio. If you have any questions, please drop in the comments. And of course, I'm curious to know, how many sewing machines do you have? 1, 2, 3, or maybe even more? Just let me know. I'm really, really curious. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye!